Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2053. The topic is mindset, and the title is To Be Happy, Don't Avoid Struggle. One of my clients wrote in their online journal that they're struggling to be consistent in their habits. Now, in the process of us setting up our programming, we have 3 options for breakfast, 3 options for lunch, and 3 options for dinner. And then they also have the macro targets for those meals, so that way they can, pick other foods as long as they get to the calories and the protein that we want. But we already have established options as well. And those are options from what they were normally eating or foods they liked. We also have created workouts for them that they can do at their office gym where they work. Actually has a really great office gym. So they can train there or they can train at home. They do have some equipment at home as well. So they know what to do, but they're not consistent in doing it. They wrote the following: I don't know why I can't be more consistent. I have the food I need at my house. I have a gym in my house. But I still skip meals and I still skip workouts. I guess I thought having the answers would make the process easier, but it hasn't. I just want to be happy, but I am still struggling with making the right choices. I don't know what to do. So in today's podcast, I wanted to explore one aspect of the answer that I provided for them in their journal. So I wrote back to them. If you believe that happiness is indicated by the absence of struggles, then you'll never be happy. I too have the right foods in my house. I too have a gym in my house. But I too have to convince myself to eat meals when I should some days. I too have to convince myself to work out when I should some days. The counter arguments or when I believe myself to be too busy or too tired. I have too much to do to eat right now, is what I'll say to myself. Or I'll just answer one more email. Or I'm too tired to work out. I still have so much to do today. These are all thoughts I wrestle with throughout the week. These are all thoughts that sometimes I will lose to. But overall, I'm happy. Overall, I'm consistent. Overall, I'm making progress. And you can too. Here are a couple ideas to try. And this is what I wrote for the client, specific to what their schedule and kind of the development that we're trying to get in regards to our character towards struggles. These 3 suggestions align well. I wrote number 1 is try a new self-identity, meaning what does the me I want to be do? So when they're thinking, should I have a meal, should I not have a meal? I know I should have a meal, but I'm kind of busy. Well, what does the me I want to be do to eat the meal? You kind of have time to work out, but you're tired. Maybe it's not the full amount. Maybe it's only part of the amount. You're not sure. Should you get the workout in? Well, what does the me I want to be do? So act how you want to be, not how you are. Second tip is to pair a new habit with an existing habit. So they have a 9 a.m. team call that they do every morning, basically Monday through Friday. And I said, that's a consistent thing in your day, 9 a.m. team call. So after that call, you eat food. The first thing you do after you put your phone down, after that call, as if people actually use phones, the first thing you do after you turn off your headset and put your headset down is you want to get food in your face. So 9 a.m. call, done, food in face, then move forward. Same thing as they have a job that does end at 4:45 every day. So it's nice. They can just leave their job, there. They don't have a job that kind of bleeds into the evening. So I said at 4:45, as soon as you shut off your computer, you go to the gym. Whether it's the gym at your house, whether it's the gym at the office, if you're at the office that day, whatever it is, at 4:45, boom, done, I go to the gym. That's the first place I go to at 4:45. The third tip is don't ask yourself. If you ask yourself how you feel, you'll always feel tired likely, or you're going to feel overwhelmed, you're going to feel busy, you're going to feel a lot of things that don't always lead to us making the right choices. So if you ask yourself how you feel, you'll often choose either the lazy option or the more urgent option. And urgent isn't always what's important. So just do what you should do. Don't ask yourself how you feel about doing it. So those were the 3 tips that I gave that client. And it was interesting because I was listening to a podcast recently. I believe it was Jimmy Carr, the comedian. He was on the podcast, The Diary of a CEO. It's actually very interesting insights, very interesting conversation. I believe they have 2 parts, part 1 and part 2, like a first-time visit and a second-time visit. But it's a pretty good podcast. And within the podcast, a great phrase was said. Show me a happy person, and I'll show you a person who struggled. Ooh, I like that. Show me a happy person, and I'll show you a person who struggled. Struggle is part of happiness. Struggle is part of the journey to a better life. There are 3 concepts of struggle that I wanted to touch on today. The first is struggle is a necessary precursor to happiness. Through struggle, the struggle to create a better life, we create and expand upon the contrast of what life was before and after the struggle. So what was life like before you started putting effort in to change it? The more effort to change it that you put in, the more difference you create between what life was and what life currently is. The greater the difference, assuming that you're putting in struggle and creating positive growth, the greater the distance between what life was and what life is the greater your happiness. Now, I saw this in my own journey when I started lifting weights and trying to eat healthy. I started my journey at 15 years old. What was interesting was, as I started to put in the effort, as I became more consistent with it, as I became kind of identified just within myself as, okay, I'm a person who does this. I'm a person who eats well. I'm a person who trains hard. I'm a person who pursues a better life. From 15 to 16 to 17 to 18, I don't know if anybody would have really seen much of a difference. So I could be 3 years, 4 years into lifting weights, and I still looked very, very average. No visible veins, no muscle tone. I wasn't strong. I couldn't bench 225 until I was in my 20s. So even, I think it was like 6-7 years of lifting before I could bench 225. I was very skinny fat, and I was weak. But if you'd have asked me at 18, 19, 20 if I was happy, there would have been some context needed. Was I happy compared to where I wanted to be? No. Was I happy compared to where I used to be? Yes. Even though there wasn't much of a difference in strength, there wasn't much of a difference in leanness, there wasn't any really difference at all in muscle mass, I was happy compared to where I used to be because of who I became. I was happy where I was compared to where I used to be because I knew every single day I was getting further from that person and becoming one day closer to the person I wanted to be. As I worked through the struggle, I became more and more and more increasingly distant from that version of me I didn't like, that life I had that I didn't like. Struggle is a necessary precursor to happiness. We have to struggle to create happiness. It is through struggle that we create a difference in our life. And that difference makes us happy. The second concept is that struggle is the fun of happiness. Having stuff isn't as fun as getting stuff. How many of us have thought, if I just have this one thing, my life will be so much better, right? So I think everybody has a universal feeling. For me, it happens like with gym equipment. So I always thought, if I have that cable handle, I'll be able to do this exercise and I can grow that muscle bigger. Or, if I have that specialty barbell, I can do this exercise and I can grow stronger. There was always like this exercise equipment, this handle, this device, this thing that, once I have that, things will be better. And then I have it. And yeah, it's nice, it's fun, it's awesome. But, I can't use that handle every workout. I gotta create some variety, I gotta change it up. I can't use that barbell every workout. I gotta create some variety, I gotta change it up. So, it was exciting to think about, it was exciting to work for it and earn the money for it. It was exciting to get it. I got a couple great, awesome workouts with it, but then all of a sudden, what's next, right? We all have experienced this. We all want, a fancy watch, some shoes, some clothes. We want it. We get it. It's exciting to have at first, but then that very quickly fades. The excitement often is in the getting of stuff. What's it going to be like? Ooh. And then as you save more money to get closer to purchasing it, as you diet harder to get closer to being leaner, as you lift weights more consistently to get closer to being stronger, to being more muscular, it becomes increasingly more tangible and that becomes increasingly more exciting. The getting it process is exciting. The having it process, that's fun at first, and then it very quickly fades away. So the struggle to work towards happiness is actually the fun, because you get to feel that it's increasingly more tangible as you become more consistent, as you learn new things, as you figure out new ways of doing stuff. You put in the new life hack, figure out, a little cheat code on how to do this thing better than that thing. And it's just this process that you go through, you refine and you tweak it, and it's just this experiment. But it's exciting because what's this next thing going to get me? What's this next thing going to get me? What's this next thing going to get me? A life with struggle, meaning the struggle is directed towards improving your life. So it's a chosen struggle, a purposeful struggle, a progressive struggle. It's a fun life. That's a happy life. Because you're always making it better. You're always excited for the next day, the next effort, the next thing. The third concept of struggle is that struggle creates character. We often hear it's not the destination, it's the journey. But the journey doesn't always feel good. Right? If you're supposed to get up at 5:30 in the morning to work out, that doesn't feel good. If you have to eat foods you're not used to eating, if you have to be hungry for a little bit of time when you're not used to being hungry, you don't like being hungry. Or if you have to eat more food than you really want because you're trying to gain weight and you just freaking don't want any more food, you're stuffed, you're about to sit there and throw up. That doesn't feel good. So we know, okay, I can't wait for the destination to be happy because I'm going to spend infinitely more time getting to the destination than I will be at it. And then once I'm at the destination, again, having stuff isn't as fun as getting stuff. So once I'm at the destination, I'm going to be like, oh, this is cool. Okay, what's next, right? So it's the journey, but if it's the journey doesn't feel so happy all the time. We don't always want to do the things that we're supposed to do. We don't always want to take that next step in the journey. So what's fun is, what makes you happy is seeing the development of who you are, of who you become in the process. It's not the destination. It's not the journey. It's who you become in the process. Struggle creates character. And knowing that you are growing in character, growing in your emotional strength, your mental strength, your life management skills, knowing that you're growing as a person, that is what makes you happy. You become happy because you know who you used to be, the life you used to have. Not only are you getting further from it, you're getting increasingly more unlikely to ever return to it. You're becoming a different person, a person who doesn't live like that, a person who doesn't eat like that, a person who doesn't have that unhappy life. You're growing in who you are. And when you have that sense that you are improving, that you're becoming new, man, that makes you happy. It's actually an addictive feeling. So to the client who is struggling, to you, the listener, if you're struggling, if you're expecting happiness to be void of struggle, you'll be waiting your whole life to be happy. If you're avoiding struggle in order to find happiness, you'll be waiting your whole life to be happy. In order to be happy, we should actually seek out struggle. Because it is through struggle that we create a different life. One that contrasts to our prior unhappy life. It is through struggle that we experience happiness. We experience the chase of going after something we want. We experience becoming someone we want to be. Daily struggles to do the right thing are normal. Unhappy, unsuccessful people fight to do the right thing every day. Happy, successful people fight to do the right thing every day. That's universal. Everyone struggles to do the right things. But people who are happy, people who are successful, they just have better structure and better practices in their life built in order to fight back. Don't run from the fight. The fight is where happiness is. That struggle to learn how to do the right thing when you don't want to. That is where happiness is. That simple struggle. How do I do the right thing more often? The closer you get to answering that, the happier and happier and happier you'll be. Because you'll become closer to living your best life, your truest potential, becoming who you were meant to be. That's where happiness is. Don't run from that fight. Stand up to it. Grow into it. You're going to take some punches, but you got to learn how to counter. You got to learn how to fight back. So for the 3 tips that I gave my client was to develop a new self-identity. That could be a tactic that you use to fight back against that struggle. When you don't feel like doing the right thing. When you don't feel like doing what you should do. Ask yourself, what does the me I want to be do? And then you just do it. You don't ask yourself how you feel about doing it. You're never going to feel good about doing something you don't want to do. You're never going to feel good about having to put in extra effort when you're already tired, to have to cook and prep meals when you could just go through a fast food drive-through. You're always going to feel like doing the lazy, quickest, easiest option. Don't ask yourself how you feel. It doesn't matter. There's a lot to unpack in that simple concept of when should you consider your feelings and when should you not. But I would argue that if you're struggling to do the right things, if you're struggling to be consistent, you probably need to lean into worrying less how you feel and just doing the things that you should do, doing the things that your program requires of you, doing the things that lead to the ultimate goal that you want. Don't worry about how you feel today. Think about how you're going to feel when you are successful, when you reach your end goal. Right? Do things for how you'll feel that day. And then the third tip was pair a new habit with an existing habit. If you're struggling to do something new, put it with something that you do every day, all the time, on a normal basis. Okay, every time I do that, I do this. Every time I do that, I do this. Those 3 tips alone will increase your arsenal, your ability to fight back against that daily struggle to do the right things. Again, unsuccessful, unhappy people fight that fight every day. But happy, successful people fight that fight every day. Everyone fights that fight. But to be happy, to be successful, you just have to fight back. You have to create some tactics and practices. You have to create some structure. You have to be purposeful in fighting back. And it's through the struggle to fight back that you create happiness. So give those tips a try. See if they help. They don't have to help in the sense of now all of a sudden you do everything right all the time. You're not going to be perfect. We just want to make the better choice more often. And in doing so, you will be happy. Okay? If you need anything, reach out on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. You can always send me a message on the bottom of the homepage as a contact form. Send me any questions, send me any comments, anything you want to know. I'll always get back to you. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people we share the podcast with, the more people it can help. Also, if you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on our website. And if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.